All right, guys. So after the presentation, here's what you are required to do. This is going to be a midterm that you are going to have to do, and this will be the midterm will be done in class, right? But I am giving you a lab. This overview right here, or exactly what you're seeing here, guys, is what will be on the midterm. The only thing that's going to be different is that I'm going to change the IP addresses. So don't go to a friend or a neighbor or a cousin or your classmate and say that, hey, classmate, here's what I want you to do. I want you to configure this for me, and then I'll just go to class and just present it to the professor. No, because I will change each and every IP address. I'm giving you the exact topology, though, and the configs that all you will have to do when we get a chance to do this is to know exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it at each, juncture of the config. So we added this in, while class was going on, and that's why I'm actually putting this leg of the network. So this is going to be this is router 1, this is router 2, this is router 3. So I'm saying from 1 to 3.0/24. That's that subnet right there, and this is going to be a subnet here, 192.168. So this is 2 to 3.0/24, and that's this subnet right here, and 192.168.0/24, right? Very, very simple network. I know this is beginning stuff. You guys are beginners, so that's, so it's going to be challenging for you, but I want you to be able to work through it and understand exactly what we're doing. So here we go. So here's what the lab is asking you to do. Let's look at the requirements, right? So we look at the requirements. The first thing is saying, hey, configure host name on all switches and routers using the naming pattern CCNA, CCNA1. You can leave the 1 out. Just CCNA R1, CCNA switch 1, etc. So that's one of the requirements. Configure host name on all routers. And it also says create a username, and the username should be admin, and the password should be Cisco on all switches and routers. And it says here, use class as the enable password. So you guys so let's just copy. You guys got this down right here? Configure, and I'm going to draw it back on the screen as needed. So let's go and do that. So how do we do that? The first thing is let's start on our first switch. Or we can start on our first router, anyone that's, make you guys happy. So let's get onto the router here. So just like we normally do, we go, no, if it's auto, we ought to not do it. And to get into the privilege mode, we do enable. And we're in the privilege mode. To get into global config, we do config T. That takes us into global config. We want to change the name based on the requirement. The requirement states that the name has to be, let's put it here, the name should follow this naming pattern or naming convention. CCNA, so in this case, host name specifies the name, and I say it should be CCNA R1. Okay? Notice it changes the name there. To save it, I do DR. You want to make your save your changes periodically as you go through the config, because if you don't and you lose and your package crashes, you're going to have to type everything all over again. The other thing that it says here is create a username. So I'm saying username, and the username should be called admin, and the password should be Cisco. So I mistyped there, it's password. Right? It also says that I should set an enable password as class. So I'm saying enable secret class. So that's it. I'm saving the information. Notice I'm also saving it in my file here because I don't want to lose it. That means if I close the file down and open back up, I'll be able to do it. No issues. So now let's continue. So now if we look at the topology, it's saying between this network here, for this network down here, it's saying it's network 192.168.2.0. So on this interface, gigabit 01, the default gateway is supposed to be 1. Assign IP address to both PCs and use .1 as the default gateway. The .1 or the default gateway of any PC is the IP address that's assigned to the interface of the router that's in that segment. So in this case, if we go back down here, we're going to go on interface gigabit 0/1. I'm going to say IP address is 192.168.2.1. Subnet mask 255.255.255.0, and I do OK. I'm going to say no shut, and I'm saving. Okay, so on this interface now, that's going to connect the link between router 1 and router 2. The network is 192.168.1. So let's put it in. Interface gigabit 0/0. So I'm going into the interface that's connecting these two networks. And I'm going to say here, IP address is 192.168.1.1. 255.255.255.0, right? And I'm turning the interface up. This interface that's connecting router 1 to router 3, I am saying I'm going in that interface to configure it. Interface gigabit 0/2. The IP address is 192.168.13.1, 255.255.255.0. Notice I'm using the number that I'm using for each router is the number that matches the router. It just helps for my own sanity, right? So there's no hard and fast rule that you have to do that. But in this network, I chose to do that. I'm choosing to do this. Now, I've configured gigabit interface 1 here, and I'm going to configure the PC now. So if I go on the PC here, the lab states that we should assign an IP address 192.168.2.1. And I'm sorry, guys. So again, 192.168.2.10, sorry. And the subnet mask is that. And the gateway, what's the gateway going to be? The gateway is going to be the IP address that I assigned on this interface. In this case, it was .1. So I'm saying, hey, Mr. PC, if you're trying to get to any one of these subnets, right, you have to send it to this gateway. This router will know how to get there. So I'm saying 192.168.2.1. That's where it needs to go. And I just configured this. So what I could do, I could actually test from my PC. So I'm here. I'm testing to see if I can reach the gateway of my router 1. So again, it's ping 192.168.2.1. And I'm able to ping it. So we're making good progress so far. Okay? Now, I'm going to configure router 2. I'm configuring router 2. So I'm on router 2 right now. I go to the command line interface, and again, I'm choosing to say no. Enable, and my going to config T, that's the configure terminal, the global config mode. I'm going to change my host name. So host name, say I want to name this router 2. In this case, a CCNA router 2, right? That's what we just did. I saved it. The interface that's connecting router 1 and router 2 is gigabit 00. So I need to configure that with an IP address. The IP address that we're going to use is 192.168.1.2. So interface gigabit 0/0, IP address 192.168.1.2, 255.255.255.0, no shut, and you notice the interface came online. Okay? Now, there's also an interface gigabit 02 that connects router 2 down to router 3. I'm going to configure that while I'm on it. I'm going to go interface. Look, notice I'm typing the short commands, but I could actually type it all out. Interface, and if I don't know what it is, I just type a question mark. Hopefully I can spell that right. Interface, and I'm saying gigabit Ethernet. Gigabit Ethernet 0/2. Right, so I'm in that interface right now, and I'm going to configure the IP address. The IP address that's connecting these two routers together, IP address will be 192.168.23.2, 255.255.255.0, and I'm saying no shut on that interface. That interface is up. It won't be lit until I configure this one over here. Now, I'm still on router 2, so I'm going to try to configure this interface that's hanging off to this subnet over here. This subnet over here is 192.168.3.0, by the way. So let me get my router back. I'm looking for router 2. So I'm going to interface gigabit 0/1. IP address is 192.168.3.1, 255.255.255.0, no shut, right? And that interface is up. Every time I type do WR, guys, it's the same thing as me typing copy running config to startup config. Remember when we started in the lecture just now, we're saying anything that you type in the router's configuration while it's running, it's in running config. If I shut it down and do not save it, when I start it again, I will lose that configuration, right? So that's what we're trying to prevent here. That's why I keep on writing. And I also go back and save, because Packet Tracer have a tendency sometimes it crashes. All right, so we have configured this interface. We've configured this interface. We've configured all the interfaces. Now we need to go on our famous router 3 to configure it. It's saying router 2 here, so one of the things that we're going to do is I'm just going to right-click it here. I'm going to change the name, just the name that we see as a representation on the screen, but the right name is actually inside the router. So if you notice, and I go to the command line, it has never been configured. I do no. And so I'm to go into privilege mode. I'll type enable, hit enter. Notice it changes from the greater than sign to the pound. I go into global configuration mode, configuration, configure terminal. Right, so it's the same as config T, but I just type it out sometimes so you guys can see it. I'm going to change the name, host name, and when I do host name, I'll say I want it to be CCNA, CCNA R3. That's what we decided we're going to name them. Now, one of the things that I didn't do, and no one said anything or reminded me that I needed to do it, I didn't create the username on router 2, or I didn't set the enable password. So let's do that here. Router 3, username, admin, password is Cisco. Notice these are the requirements. We are given specific requirements by our organization, and that's what we must follow. So it tells you here, right? Admin, Cisco, all switches and routers. Now, one of the things that we need to do also is to say enable secret. The only difference is if I say enable password and put class, it will work. But if I do show run, where I'm looking at the running config on the router, notice the password is in clear text, right? If I had done, so let's kind of delete that. If we go back up, I just did the up arrow, and to move from the To move from the front of the line or the end of the line to the start of the line, I could just do Control A, and it takes me back there, and I do no to negate it. So let me just take class off. No enable password. So if I do, and you notice, it's not there anymore. So what we could do now, if we say enable secret class, we will notice that do show run, it's there, right? But now it's encrypted. It's googly gog. You cannot see it. So I could have left it and also do what's called service password encryption, remove the no from it, and then it would have also encrypted it if I had done that. But, you know, I'll do it on the other one for you guys to see it. Okay, so now let's look at the topology here. Again, we're on router 3. So to configure the link that's between router 3 and router 2, I'd have to go into interface gigabit 0/1, no shut. I do no shutdown, and I do the IP address is, remember this network here, and I'm going to give it the .3. So it's 192.168.23, which is like 2 to 3, router 2 to 3, .3, right? 255.255.0, right? And I'm good. And if I try to ping, by the way, I can ping my own address that I just assigned, 192.168.23.3. I'm able to ping my own address, and I'm also going to try to ping router 2. Router 2's address was .2, and we should be able to ping .2, and we were able to ping it. Now, I'm still in router 3. I'm going to try to configure the link between router 3 and router 1. So the interface that's connecting us between router 3 and router 1 is gigabit 0/0. No shut. I'm going to put the IP address 192.168.123.3. 255.255.255.0. Do DWR, I'm writing it. Or if you guys want to do, go to you do copy, run, start, right? Yeah. So, and I just saved, and I'm saving. Notice I'm clicking on the disk over here. You could go File, Save. If you do that, even if I close this out right now, I will be able to. So right now I have router 1, 2, 3 fully connected. There's one link that I have left that I need to configure. So let's do it, right? We're going to get back on router 3 and we're going to configure this link. So config T to get us in global config, interface to get us in the interface configuration. We go interface, specify the interface, in this case is gigabit 2, and we're going to say we're going to assign it IP address 192.168.4.1. Not .1, I'm sorry, .3. 255.255.255.0. Right, no shut. Do WR, and we're good. All right, so we're good right there. That's coming up, sir.
Yeah. Hey, I had a question because isn't 02 the gateway for the the Ford the 192.168.4.0?
That Ford subnet.
Yeah.
Yes, and I did that 3 instead of .1 because the requirement says that it's supposed to be .1. Is that the question you're going to ask?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So it should be .1. I did it there on purpose to see who's gonna say anything. All right. But let me just leave it at .3.
Okay.
Right. But it's supposed to be .1 when you're doing it in your exam.
Okay.
Right. Because it's saying that they are supposed to be .1. Okay. So
okay.
I leave it at .3 for now. Now over here, notice I don't remember if we configured this already, but if we didn't, but here's the thing. Let's leave that. We didn't configure this yet. Let me look on this over here. And I do show run. Not do. Show run. Which interface connects subnet 192.168.3? Help me out, guys. Come on. It's, thank you very much for your feedback. It's 192.168.3.1. It's configured on gigabit 0.1. Okay?
Okay, yeah.
So now let's kind of get on this PC over here, PC2. So if we were to go on PC2, we go to desktop, we go to IP, and we say 192.168.3.10. And the gateway is going to be what? 192.168.3.1. Right? Let's test to see if it's working. So if we go to the command prompt, and we're looking at 10 right now, we should be able to at least ping to this gateway right here, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So if I say ping 192.168.3.1, boom, I'm pinging. I could also ping my own IP address on my PC, which is .10. I'm good. But remember, can I ping this right here also? This interface, gigabit 00, on router 2. What's that IP address there?
192.168.1. I think you did either 1 or 2. I don't remember.
2. There was 2.
Yeah.
Will I be able to ping it from this PC here?
Yes.
Yes, I will be able to ping it. Why? Because this router knows how to get back to this network. They're on the same physical router. I'll be able to ping it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So just leave it there, see what happens, and it's going to start pinging. As long as the interface is up and everything is good, we should start pinging. But, of course, that's my luck, it's not pinging. Let me see if that's the right IP address that I assigned it. So that's for us to troubleshoot right now. All right, so let's take a look at it. Let's get on the router, and let's look at this interface. This is gigabit 00. Well, gigabit 00 is 192.168.1.2, right? 255, yeah. And over here is 192.168.3. And if I go down here and look on my PC down here, look at this. I fat fingered something. You see what the error that I made?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The gateway is not right. I put 178. It's supposed to be 168. Very good. That's why it didn't work. Because, hey, I don't know how to get off the island. Now if I put it back and do this, look at it. Voila, it's pinging. No problems whatsoever. Okay? So that's that. So now, if we're able to ping, so we just tested that we're able to ping from this PC, PC2, all the way to this interface, but can we ping over here? Can we ping over there? Well, let's see. The answer is going to be no, but let's try. You're not able to ping over there. You know why you're not able to ping over there? What do you think is happening? Let's take a look. It says timeout. What do you think is happening? I can tell you what's happening right now. The packet is getting from this computer, it's getting to here, and it's getting all the way over here. So it's getting over here, but guess what? What's the source IP? What's the source IP of the packet? 192.168.3.10. Where is it going to over here? It's going to router 1. Does router 1 know anything about 192.168.3.10? Well, no, it doesn't. Let's take a look. Let's put router 1 over here, and let's take a look at this. All right. Right, let's do show IP route. Remember what we said just now when we looked at that PowerPoint presentation? It tells us the router here needs to know about the networks that it needs to go to. If it doesn't know about it, then if it's not explicitly stated in here, there has to be a gateway of last resort. There's none, and it's not explicitly stated. So the source, the packet is being sourced from this PC. What's this IP address? 192.168.3.10, correct? Mm-hmm. And it's getting all the way over here. But this guy doesn't know how to answer it back. Think about it. If I send you a letter to your home, you live in California, I'm living here in Florida. I send a letter to your home, and I put your home address on it. And if I don't put my reply address, will you know how to respond to me?
No.
No.
No, if I don't know how to get right, so it doesn't know how to get back. So that's why it's not able. And let me show you. Let me demonstrate it to you. I'm going to do debug IP packets. Debug IP packet. So debug is on. So debug allows you to take a look under the hood of what's going on with your communication. So before you were not able to see anything, but now with debug, it's going to show you the packet that comes to the router and where it comes from. So let's take a look. I'm pinging that router again. Look at what happens here. Where's it coming from? Source. I heard somebody say, that's nice, right? You all. That means undebug all. We just turn off debug. The packet that got to the router just now, where did it come from?
The PC.
The
192.168.3.10, yeah.
PC2.
Thank you very much. And what's the destination IP address? 192.168, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, but guess what? It wasn't able to respond. Why?
It says unroutable.
It's unroutable. That's what it says here. Unroutable. Because I don't know how to get back over there. I don't know anything about this network.
Well,
Hence,
wouldn't it update the routing table because it's connected to
no, but how is
the
that
router?
happen? How is that going to happen? You didn't do that part of the requirement yet.
Oh.
But that's what it tells you here. You know, it says here, do what? Implement a static route from router 1 to be able to get back to this, and for this to be able to get to this. Look at it there. You see it?
Okay.
Yeah. So to be able to get back over there, what I will have to say to router 1, and router 1, I'm going to say, hey, dude, hey, router 1, and this is how you type it in networking. IP route. What's the destination? 192.168 what? 3.0. No, 3.0. That's a network. 255.255.255.0. Drop it off to 192.168.1.2. Here's the thing. Hey, router 1, that's this. If you're trying to get to a network with 192.168.3.0 and it's a subnet of 255.255.255.0, drop it off to router 2. And router 2 IP's address is 192.168.1.2. It knows how to get there. That's pretty much what we just did. Got it?
Yeah.
Let's see. Now, if we were to do this, what happens if we try to ping again? Boom, it's replying now. You see? Because we just taught the router how to get back over there. And if we go back and look at show IP route, right? Hey, we're now seeing how to get back to this network. So what we just did, we just updated the GPS database because we added a street in. We added a new pathway in, so we just updated the GPS database. Remember? So if we do here, debug IP packet, right, and look, we will see everything that's happening. It gets there, it sends it back, it's able to route everything back. You're not going to get that not routable statement anymore. To turn off debug, you just do you all, but it's really on debug all in this case. But short is just you all. Okay, guys? Now, here's the thing now, though, right? So with that said, if I were to go here on this PC, so on router 1 is here, right? So I'm going to go on PC 1. Do you think we have PC 1 open? No. All right, so let's go on PC 1. And let's try to ping from PC1 over to PC2, right? What do you think? Ping 192 dot what?
It's not working.
168.
168
3.10.
dot 3.10. Do you think it will work?
No.
Huh?
I hope so.
Remember, were we able to ping stuff from this router just now over from over here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because weren't we able to ping gigabit 00 from PC2 and it worked, no issue at all?
But it's a different subnet.
But
So
it's a
does that
different
matter?
subnet. It does matter. It has everything to do with it. Because if we go to look at router 2 over here, right, look, if we ping it, it's not going to work. Because the IP, it's no longer being sourced from gig 00, but it's being sourced from gig 01. Make sense? So the source IP would be coming from 192.168.2.
Yeah.
But if we go on this router over here, and we look at show IP route, guess what? It doesn't know how to get to it.
Yeah.
It doesn't know anything about that network. It knows about this network right here, but it doesn't know anything about this network over here. You remember, every port, every network port on a router represents a different subnet. So if I were to do this over here, you all, and I were to say now, hey, try to do the same traffic over there, you will see the traffic is not you all, but debug IP packet. If I were to do that, you will see the traffic get in there, but at the end, you will see where it just says unroutable. It doesn't know how to get back. Right? It doesn't know how to get back, guys.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm not sure. It's not, I don't see the term unroutable yet, but that's exactly what's happening. I promise you it is. This is Packet Tracer. It's a simulator. Sometimes it doesn't give you the results that you're looking for, but that's what's happening. If we were to go in this router now, and because notice, the packet is coming from what? 192. So if the source packet is 192.168.2.10, what would be the response destination packet? 192.168.2.10, right? But it doesn't know how to get back there. So if we do show, if I go over here and we do show IP route, it doesn't know about the two networks. So I'm going to say, hey, router 2, if you're trying to get to any network that has 192.168.2.0 with a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0, drop it off to what? 192.168 what?
3.0.
1.1. No, 1.1. Because remember, this router has to drop it off over here.
Oh.
So if we did that and specify and put it in there, and we come back here and ping, it knows how to get back. Right? So now we're just able to communicate right across our network from PC2 to PC1 and PC1 to PC2, no problems. However, we are not able to communicate. We won't be able to communicate from PC3. Let's do this. 192.168 dot what? 4.10. Let's put the IP address in for the default gateway, 192.168. That's 4. Dot what? 3, right? Why do we use 3 here? We're using 3 here. We could use 1. We could use any number we want. But it has to correspond with the number that we configured on the gateway. Right? So let's look at it. The number that we configured on this interface, which is gigabit 02, is .3. So that's the number that we have to use, right? So now, this router here, 3, it doesn't, let's look. Show IP route. It doesn't know how to either get to 192.168.2 or 192.168.3. So any packet that you try to send from here to either this or this, it will not know how to get there.
Yes.
Does that make sense? So let's take a look. If I were to go on this computer and I say, hey, I'm trying to ping 192.168.2.10, destination unreachable. See the difference?
Mhm.
Destination unreachable. Say, hey, man, I don't know how to get there. Because look, it doesn't have any idea about these networks. So how are you going to ask me to get there? However, if I were to do this, on this, I'm on router 3 right now. And if I were to say, hey, router 3, I mean, this is how you say it. Hey, router 3, if you're trying to get to network what? 192.168.2.0, 192.168.2.0 with a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0, where do you drop it off to? You drop it off to what? Where are we right now? We're down here. We're on router 3. So what's configured on router 3? .3, right? So we got to drop it off to .1. So we got to drop it off to 192.168. What? 13.1, correct? That's what we're saying. Now, look at the difference with the message that we're going to get. It's still not going to be able to get there. But instead of saying destination unreachable this time, you're just going to have a timeout. Destination unreachable was this router had no idea how to go there. So it says, I don't know how to get there. So that's the error that is fitting back to the client. So if we do show route, show IP route, now, does it know how to get to 192.168.2 network? Absolutely. And it says I need to get there via router 1. But guess what's going to happen? Why it's going to say timeout? Because router 1 doesn't know how to get back. So look, watch what happens if I do it. It no longer will say destination unreachable. It will say timeout. Because the packet is getting to router 1. Router 1 just doesn't know how to come back. You see what I say, guys?
Yes.
So it's timing out. So if we were to go up to router 1 right now, and we were to even turn on debug, debug IP packet, we could verify that the packets are getting there on router 1, right? I guarantee they're getting there. It just doesn't know how to come back because it's getting there from what? From 192.168.10. But I don't know how to get to that network. So to fix that issue on router 1, I have to say, hey, to get to 192.168.4 network, you got to drop it off down to 3. You guys see that? Is that clear or no? So if I'm on router 1 right now, I have to now say IP route. If you're trying to get to 192.168, what's this network down here? 4.0, because you're trying to get to this subnet down here. If you're trying to get to this subnet down here, router 1, drop it off to, with a subnet mask, of course, of 255.255.255.0. Drop it off to what? 192.168, what? 13 dot what?
0.
No, that's 3. Because we're on
sorry.
this router. What's the IP between here and here? This is .1, this is .3.
Mm-hmm.
So we're on this. So we're saying drop it off to the next one. .3. Now once we do that and we go back over here and ping, boom. We're getting traffic pass through. The great thing is about this, guys, everything is being recorded. So you could go back and you could listen to it, and you have to work through and configure this yourself. And then when you come to class now to do the midterm, all I'll change is the IP address, and you should be able to configure it. You should know what each command that you're typing in, what it really means. What are you getting done? Okay? Now, if you now go over to this PC here, which is PC2, and you try to ping PC3, are you going to get there?
No.
No, you won't, because if you go to PC3 right now on the desktop. Let me just kill that. Go to the desktop right now on PC3, and you try to get to PC2. You will not be able to get there. Matter of fact, you will get destination unreachable. If I try to ping 192.168.3.10, you see, destination host unreachable. Because again, the router, which is the default gateway for 3, which in this case is what? Router 3, doesn't know anything about the 3 network. So to resolve that little issue there, we have to first teach this router how to get over there. So we got to say, hey, router 3, if you were trying to get to 192.168.3.0, 255.255.255.0, drop it off to 192.168 what?
23.
23 dot
2.
23.2. Make sense? So now once you do that, guess what's going to happen now? You're going to get timeout. Yeah, because it doesn't know how to
get back.
Doesn't know how to come back.
Yeah.
Router 2 needs to know how to come back. So now we just need to get into router 2. We now need to get into router 2 up here and say, hey, Mr. Router 2, if you are trying to come, hey, Mr. Router 2, if you're trying to go to 192.168.4.0, 255.255.255.0, you should drop it off to what? 192.168.23. Dot what? Dot 3. Because that's what it is. Right? So now if we go back over here and we do a ping, we should be able to get a reply. Is that awesome or what, guys?
Yeah.
We just built our entire network and we're allowing communication. You know, we're going from, physical layer of the OSI model up to the data link, right, up to the transport layer. We're configuring routing. We just talked about the, the GPS database of our network, which is a routing table. And we're manually telling how to get from one router to the next and how to get from one network to the next, because we're teaching our routers about where different subnet lives on our network, right? So again, we go back in our requirements and we look, okay, we have configured names. We've created, admin accounts with password, enable password. Oh, we didn't assign a default gateway to the switches. We're going to do that. And we've put in the routes. We have actually been able to, we can ping from everywhere to everywhere. So the only thing that we need to do now is go in each switch. And of course, we didn't create username in every device. So you guys will have to go through and create them because this is recorded. So once I do it on one, it's the exact same thing on the other. I'm going to also enable remote management on one device, so you'll be able to know how to do it on all of them because it's the same thing. So let's pick switch 3 down here. Let's go into switch 3. For management, I said that we needed to be dot 100, right? So enable config T, host name, we want it to be CCNA switch 1, right? We just did that. Then we want to do what? Create a username. Again, same thing. Username. Username is admin. Password is Cisco. Enable password. I'm going to do it in clear text this time. Is equal to class. If we do show run, we will do show run. We'll see it there in clear text. Notice it's there in clear text. We want to get rid of that. So if we wanted to not let it not show in clear text, we just put service, password, encryption. It encrypted the password. So now you notice it's not in clear text anymore, correct? So you just saw that. All right, I just saved it. Now, if I wanted to enable remote management so that I could connect to any PC over Telnet and be able to manage the switch, I would go into line VTY, that's a virtual terminal, and I say 0 to, let's say I say 0 to 15, right? Inside here, I'm going to say login. When you're logging in, use the local database. So it's going to use the admin user that I just created, right? And that's what I just did. Transport input, all in this case, because I'm allowing Telnet, I'm allowing SSH and whatever else. All right, so that's there. What I need to do now, but I need an IP address on this switch to allow for connectivity. So if I do show run, there are no IP addresses here. So in the requirement, it's stated that you need to configure VLAN 1. So config T, VLAN 1 is already there, if you notice. There are no IP addresses assigned to it, that interface. So just like you did in the labs in class, you would go interface VLAN 1, no shut, right? IP address in this case is 192.168.4.100 because that's what the requirement states. 255.255.255.0. All right? So now, look at this. If I were to, remember, the requirement also states that everything should be reachable from everywhere. You got to be able to ping from everywhere. Or you should be able to manage the switch and the router from Telnet from anywhere on the network. So if I were to go on this PC3, if I were to go on PC3 right here and ping my switch, this switch here, what do you think will happen? Switch 3, it should work, right? Because they're on the same VLAN. So it will say 192.168.4.100, right? It should work. Right? So you notice it worked. We expected it to work. However, if you were to go to another PC, which is PC2, let's say, and you ping it 192.168.4.100, what's going to happen? It's not going to work. Why? The same thing happens. It's getting to the switch, and we could check and see. Let me go see if I can turn on debug. Debug IP packet. Debug. The switch is a little bit different. And you know, it's not all here. This version is different. IP. ICM. Let's try ICMP. Let's see if it's going to be here. You see? Why? Echo reply sent from, it's sent right to 100. It's coming from here. It can't reply. Why can't it reply? Because the switch doesn't have a default gateway. So if you get on the switch, what do you have to do? IP default gateway. And what's the default gateway? The same default gateway like you put on the computer, which is 192.168.4.3. in this case. So if I were to do the same thing now, look what happens. It's supposed to work. You see it?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
You see it? It's working now, right? No problems whatsoever. So now, to that end, with that said, just like I'm logging onto console right here. This is console. So right from my PC, then I could telnet to the switch. So I could say telnet 192.168.4.100. Look, it's asking me for a username. What's the username we created?
Admin.
Admin. What's the password we created? Cisco. CISCO. Right? Hey, we're on the switch. And what's the enable password we created?
Class.
Class. Yeah. So now I'm in the switch. You see? Terminal monitor. So if I were to do anything right now, look, whatever I see here, I could see it there because I'm on the switch, remember? So if I were to go to router 2, and if I go to router 2 and I chose to say, hey, ping 192.168.100, no, that's 4.100, right? I see it right here. Because whatever you see in here is the same thing. I'm just looking at the switch. I can configure anything on the switch right here, and the same thing will be reflected on the router over there. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah.
So I'm going to get out of the switch right now. You see, I just disconnected from the switch. I'm back on my PC. So I should be able to do this to any one of the devices. Again, if you're going to configure this switch, you'd have to configure the VLAN interface here, and you have to configure what? The default gateway, and the default gateway has to be the IP address here. The same thing goes over here. And you need to configure all these routers so they're reachable. Is this difficult? No. It's just unusual. Huh?
Practice.
Yeah, you know, it's unusual. You know, you've never done it before. But the beautiful thing about this here, guys, is that we're recording it. So I'll send you the recording. I'll send you the link to the recording. No, someone asked about, no. So the version of the Cat OS that we're using, you cannot use a prefix. You cannot do /24. If you're using the Nexus OS, which is also Cisco, yes, you can do that. But with the Cat OS or the iOS that we're using, you have to type 255.255.255.0. And that's, I'm responding to Alejandro. All right. All right, guys. So I'm going to stop the recording right now. You know,